The message arrived at 3:14 Earth Standard Time. Admiral Tom stood frozen as the holographic display showed only static where New Haven Colony should be. His weathered face, marked by 40 years of military service, revealed nothing. But his hands, clenched into fists at his sides, betrayed his rage. "Play it again," he ordered. His voice was quiet, dangerous. The young officer tapped the console. The recording began once more. "This is New Haven Colony. We are under attack. Unknown vessels have entered orbit. They're not responding to—" The transmission cut to sounds of explosions, screams, then silence. 12 million people. Gone. "Analysis confirms, sir," said Commander Pete, his normally cheerful face now ashen. "New Haven has been completely destroyed. The colony, the orbital stations, everything. There's nothing left but debris." "Admiral." Tom nodded once. "Who did this?" "The energy signatures match Void Empire weapons. No question." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. The Void Empire, ancient, arrogant, and until now, merely dismissive of humanity. In 200 years of space exploration, humans had established peaceful colonies on 47 worlds. They had encountered 15 alien civilizations. Some were friendly, some neutral, but the Void Empire had always viewed the younger races as irrelevant pests at best, threats at worst. "Get me the Council, now." The United Systems Government Emergency Chamber buzzed with tension. 50 representatives from Earth and the colonies sat around the massive table. Some attended via secure hologram. All faces showed the same mix of shock and fury. President Laura, a small woman with steel-gray hair, stood at the head of the table. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her voice steady. "Admiral Tom will present what we know about the attack on New Haven." The Admiral stepped forward. Behind him, the wall screens filled with images. The burning colony, fragments of ships, and intercepted Void Empire communications. 12 hours ago, New Haven Colony was destroyed by a fleet of 30 Void Empire warships. No warning, no demands. He paused. "We recovered fragments of their battle plans from destroyed ships. This was not a random attack. The Void Empire has labeled us a future threat to be preemptively pacified." Gasps filled the room. A representative from Mars stood up. "Are they planning more attacks?" "Yes," Admiral Tom said simply. "Their documents show plans to attack our colonies at Gateway, New Terra, and Horizon within the week. After that, they aim to systematically eliminate all human presence in space before striking Earth itself." The room erupted in shouted questions. President Laura raised her hand for silence. "What are our options, Admiral?" Tom took a deep breath. This moment had been planned for, prepared for, but he had hoped it would never come. "Madam President, representatives of humanity, it is time to drop the veil." The room fell silent. The veil, humanity's greatest secret. For a century, Earth had projected an image of minimal military capability, hiding its true strength from the galaxy. When we first encountered alien life, we recognized a pattern from our own history. Tom continued. Technological civilizations that openly displayed their military power often faced coalitions formed against them out of fear. So we made a choice. We would appear weaker than we are. He tapped his console. The screens changed to show massive shipyards hidden inside hollowed-out moons, asteroid bases, and enormous fleets kept in dimensional pocket spaces, all invisible to outside detection. While we traded openly with simple ships, built apparent colonies with basic defenses, we were preparing. Every mining operation was also creating warship components. Every research outpost was developing military technology. We now possess the largest fleet in known space, with weapons generations beyond what even the Void Empire can field. President Laura nodded slowly. The veil policy was created to give us time to establish ourselves without appearing threatening, but now we face extinction if we don't act. "The Void Empire believes they're eliminating a minor annoyance," Tom said. "They expect us to beg for mercy or fight a hopeless battle with our few visible defense ships. They have no idea what's coming." "Defense," Minister Jack, a burly man with a scarred face, leaned forward. How quickly can we deploy? The emergency war protocol has been in place since we began expanding into space. Every ship we've built can be fully armed and launched within 24 hours. How many ships are we talking about? Asked a colony representative. Admiral Tom's face was grim. 900,000 warships, plus support vessels. The room fell silent again, this time in awe. Most representatives had known humanity had secret military strength, but few knew the true scale. President Laura broke the silence. We need to vote. The deployment of our full military strength would end the veil forever. The galaxy will know our true power. This cannot be undone. The vote took less than a minute. Unanimous approval. President Laura's voice was solemn. Admiral Tom, you are authorized to activate the emergency war protocol. May God have mercy on our enemies, because we will not. As Admiral Tom left the council chamber, he was joined by Fleet Commander Jane, his most trusted officer and friend for 20 years. It's really happening, she said quietly. Yes. Tom's face was stone. Send the orders. Every hidden base, every secret shipyard, full activation. Jane nodded. And the diplomatic approach? One chance. Send Mark to their commander. Standard, peace terms. They'll refuse. I know. But we'll have given them the chance. After that. His eyes hardened. After that, they learn why humanity survived its bloody history to reach the stars. Across human space, hidden installations hummed to life. Inside asteroids, beneath planetary oceans, and within hollow moons, massive doors opened. Ships that had never seen space were brought to launch position. On the command station codenamed Hammer, Fleet Commander Jane watched as thousands of status indicators changed from dormant red to active green. Workers swarmed over vessels, attaching weapon systems that had been stored separately. Pilots and crews rushed to their ships. On the main screen, a counter ticked upward as each vessel reported ready status. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. In the grand palace of the Void Empire, Emperor Draz received the human diplomat with amused contempt. The Emperor's purple-scaled body dwarfed the human, and his four eyes blinked independently as he looked down at the small pink creature. You come to beg for your species' life, the Emperor rumbled. Diplomat Mark, a gray-haired man with calm eyes, bowed slightly. I come to offer peace terms. Your colony was destroyed as a warning, the rest will follow. There are no terms to discuss. Mark unfolded a small device that projected a document. We propose a treaty. Human colonies will maintain a demilitarized zone near your borders. We ask only that you cease hostile actions. Emperor Draz laughed, a sound like grinding stones. You have 5 patrol ships in this sector. We have thousands. Your species will be remembered as a footnote in our glorious history. Mark's face showed nothing, but his eyes turned cold. This is your only warning. Cease all military action against humanity. Or what? Sneered the Emperor. Or we will respond with appropriate force. The throne room filled with laughter. The Emperor waved a massive hand. Take this creature away. Prepare the fleet to move against their colony at Gateway. As guards approached, Mark spoke one last time, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Remember this moment, Emperor Draz. Remember you were given a choice. Back aboard Hammer Station, Admiral Tom received the report of the failed peace mission. As expected, he said quietly. He turned to the communications officer. Send the launch order. Throughout human space, hidden bays opened. Ships rose from ocean depths, emerged from mountain hangars, and descended from orbital cloaking fields. The counter on Jane's screen continued to climb. 500,000, 700,000, 800,000. Admiral Tom stood at the main viewport, watching as his own command ship, Judgment, powered up its weapons. His mind went to New Haven, to the millions dead, to the peace humanity had sought for 2 centuries. All ships report ready, Admiral, Jane said, her voice tight with emotion. 900,000 warships awaiting your command. Tom nodded slowly. The galaxy thinks it knows us. Today they learn the truth. He straightened his uniform and gave the order that would change history. All ships launch. Weapons free. Show them what humanity is capable of when provoked. As the massive fleet moved into formation, Admiral Tom whispered to himself, "This is for New Haven." Captain Bill watched from the bridge of the destroyer Retribution as thousands of warships moved into formation around him. For 15 years he had trained for this day, commanding a ship that had never left its hidden dock inside an asteroid belt near Gateway Colony. Now his vessel glided through space alongside countless others, weapons hot and shields raised. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the hammering of his heart. "All systems at full power, Captain," replied First Officer Lisa. "The fleet is forming up. We're assigned to Battle Group 7 under Commander Jane." The massive view screen showed waves of ships stretching beyond sight, cruisers, destroyers, dreadnoughts, and carriers. Human engineering at its finest, built in secret over decades. "Any word from Gateway Colony?" Bill asked. "They've completed evacuation. Civilian ships are moving to safe coordinates." Bill nodded. Unlike New Haven, Gateway had received warning. No more innocent lives would be lost if he could help it. "Incoming. Transmission from Hammer Station," the communications officer announced. The screen changed to show Fleet Commander Jane's stern face. "Battle Group 7, this is Commander Jane. The Void Empire fleet will reach Gateway in 6 hours. Our intelligence shows they've sent 50 warships, expecting minimal resistance." A cold smile touched her lips. "We're going to give them a proper welcome. Battle Group 7 will form the tip of the spear." Emperor Draz lounged on his command throne aboard the Imperial flagship, Eternal Dominance. Around him, officers monitored, screens showing the approach to the human colony world. "How long until we reach the target?" he asked, stretching his massive scaled limbs. 4 hours, Emperor," replied General Cull, his top military advisor. "Our scouts report only 3 human defense ships near the colony." Draz laughed. "Such weak creatures. They don't even try to defend themselves properly." General Cull shifted uncomfortably. "My Emperor, there have been some unusual energy readings from the outer system. Perhaps we should—" "Are you suggesting these humans pose a threat?" Draz interrupted, his 4 eyes narrowing. "No, Emperor. But caution has kept our empire strong for 10,000 years." "Caution is for the weak," Draz sneered. "These humans are primitive. Their ships are toys. Their weapons are barely worth mentioning." A junior officer approached and bowed deeply. "Emperor, we've detected unusual movement in the asteroid field ahead." "Show me," Draz ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing distant dots of light emerging from behind asteroids and moons. "Magnify," the Emperor commanded. As the image zoomed in, silence fell across the bridge. Not 3 ships, but hundreds were moving into formation. Behind them, more appeared, then more. "What is this?" Draz roared, rising from his throne. General Cull's face had gone pale beneath his scales. "My Emperor, those are warships, human warships." "Impossible," Draz snarled. "Our intelligence said they have no significant fleet." The sensor officer's voice shook as he reported. "Emperor, we're detecting more vessels appearing throughout the system. Current count exceeds 3,000 ships." 3,000? Emperor Draz sank back onto his throne, his confidence wavering for the first time. Aboard Hammer Station, Admiral Tom and Fleet Commander Jane watched the Void Empire's fleet come to a confused halt. "They've spotted Battle Group 7, Jane said with satisfaction. "Just the tip of the iceberg," Tom replied. "Are the dimensional gates ready?" "Yes, Admiral. Ready to bring in the rest of the fleet." Tom nodded. "The Void Empire thinks they know what they're facing now. Let's show them how wrong they are." He pressed a button on his command console. "All battle groups, execute Jump Protocol Alpha." "On." The Void flagship alarm suddenly blared. "Emperor!" the sensor officer cried. "Spatial anomalies detected all around us." Before their eyes, space itself seemed to tear open. Massive portals of swirling energy appeared, surrounding the Void fleet. From each portal emerged hundreds of human warships, weapons already charging. How many? Emperor Draz whispered, his arrogance replaced by growing fear. 10,000. 20,000. The count continued climbing as more ships poured through the dimensional gates. 50,000 ships and still counting, General. Kull stared in horror. This is impossible. We've monitored them for decades. Where did these ships come from? On the view screen, the human vessels moved with perfect coordination, forming a massive sphere around the Void Fleet. There was no escape. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. Emperor Draz straightened his massive frame. Even faced with unexpected resistance, he was still the ruler of the greatest empire in the galaxy. Put it through, Admiral. Tom's face appeared on the screen. His expression was like stone. Emperor Draz, he said quietly. You were warned. Draz forced a laugh. Impressive display, human. I didn't know your kind could hide toys so well. But you face the Void Empire, rulers of 1,000 worlds. Your death will still come, just not as quickly as planned. You destroyed New Haven Colony, Tom replied, his voice flat. 12 million innocent lives. No warning, no mercy. Mercy is for the weak, Draz sneered. Then you will receive none. The Admiral's eyes hardened. The ships you see are merely the vanguard. Even now, the rest of our fleet moves against your empire. Your border stations have already fallen. Your colonies are being evacuated. Not destroyed as you would do to ours, but evacuated. We are not monsters despite what you believe. You're bluffing, Draz said, but doubt crept into his voice. Admiral Tom's image was replaced by live feeds from across Void Empire space. Massive human fleets surrounded key worlds. Void military bases burned. Defense stations exploded silently in the vacuum of space. This is only the beginning. Tom's voice continued over the images. You thought humanity weak because we did not flaunt our strength. You mistook our patience for cowardice, our restraint for inability. The screen returned to Admiral Tom's face. Surrender now, and your people will be spared. Continue to fight, and the Void Empire will cease to exist by day's end. Emperor Draz cut the transmission with a roar of rage. All ships, open fire, destroy them all. The Void Fleet's weapons blazed, energy beams lancing out toward the human ships. Most splashed harmlessly against advanced shields that glowed briefly but held firm. Their shields are too strong, the weapons officer cried. Impossible. Draz smashed his fist against his throne. Our weapons can cut through any known defense. The human ships didn't immediately return fire. Instead, they continued to tighten their formation around the Void Fleet, like predators circling wounded prey. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Bill watched the Void weapons dissipate against their shields. Targeting solutions ready, Captain, First Officer Lisa reported. Bill nodded grimly. Target their weapons and propulsion systems only. Disable, don't destroy. Sir? Lisa looked surprised. Those are Admiral Tom's orders. We're better than them. We don't kill without need. Bill's eyes were hard. But we will make sure they can never threaten humanity again. He took a deep breath. All ships in Battle Group 7, you may fire when ready. Throughout space, the message spread from system to system. Alien civilizations watched in shock as humans, the quiet newcomers, the peaceful traders, revealed their true power. The Galactic Council called an emergency session as reports flooded in. 900,000 human warships had emerged simultaneously across the galaxy. The greatest military force ever seen in the history of space travel had appeared overnight. In the council chamber, representatives from 40 alien civilizations watched in stunned silence as massive human fleets took control of every major trade route, jump point, and strategic location. The humans, whispered a delegate from the ancient Altair Confederation. They were hiding this all along? An aide rushed in with a new report. The Void Empire fleet has surrendered at Gateway. Emperor Draz has been captured. How long did the battle last? Asked the council leader. The aide checked the report twice to be sure. 7 minutes. As fear spread through the chamber, A human representative entered for the first time. The room fell silent. "People of the Galactic Council," she said calmly. "Humanity comes in peace, we always have. But now you know what happens when that peace is broken. The galaxy would never be the same again." News of the Void Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, alien species watched in stunned silence as their information networks displayed the same impossible images. Countless human warships appearing from nowhere, overwhelming the Void Empire's forces in minutes. But the story was just beginning. Admiral Tom stood before the holographic map in Hammer Station's war room. It showed the entire galaxy, with human fleets represented as blue dots and known hostile forces as red. The map was awash with blue. "Emperor Draz has been secured," reported Fleet Commander Jane as she entered. "He's being held aboard the prison ship Justice, with the highest-ranking Void officers." "And the rest of their fleet?" Tom asked. "Most surrendered after their flagship was captured. There were a few fanatics who tried to fight." She hesitated. "We disabled their ships with minimal casualties." Tom nodded with approval. "The Void Empire homeworld?" Jane tapped a control, enlarging a section of the map. "Our forces have secured the system. Civilian populations are untouched. Their military installations have been neutralized." "Good." Tom studied the map thoughtfully. "But we have another problem." He pointed to 2 flashing regions of space. "The Creel and Saran empires have mobilized their fleets. Intelligence suggests they're hoping to take advantage of the chaos." Jane frowned. "They were supposed to be neutral. They've been secretly supplying the Void Empire for years. Our intelligence units found proof in Draz's records." Tom's eyes hardened. They hoped the Void Empire would eliminate humanity, clearing the way for their own expansion. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Tom straightened his uniform. "Spring the trap." On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Bill received new orders. His ship, along with Battle Group 7, was being redirected. "The Creel Empire?" "First Officer." Lisa asked in surprise. "I thought we were only fighting the Void Empire." "It seems the Creel have chosen sides," Bill replied grimly. "They're moving their fleet toward our colony at Horizon. They think we're too busy with the Void Empire to defend it." "They don't know what they're facing," Lisa said. Bill's face was solemn. "No, and that's the tragedy here. If these empires had just left us alone, we would have remained peaceful traders. Now they'll all learn what humanity is capable of when provoked." The view screen showed their battle group changing course, joined by thousands more ships emerging from dimensional gates. The Retribution's engines hummed with power as they accelerated toward their new target. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, pandemonium reigned. Representatives from 40 species talked over each other, their voices rising in fear and confusion. "How did we not know?" demanded the Pelleran ambassador, his tentacles waving in agitation. "How could humans hide such military power?" "They've been planning this for decades," hissed the Trell representative, "building their forces in secret while pretending to be peaceful traders." The council leader, an ancient being from the respected Mithran species, called for order. "We must not jump to conclusions. The humans only attacked after the Void Empire destroyed one of their colonies." "But 900,000 warships," exclaimed another representative. "No civilization has ever fielded such a force. It's unprecedented." Hush fell over the chamber as the doors opened. The human representative, a tall woman named Anna, entered calmly. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and steady. "I understand your concerns, but I must correct some misconceptions." She activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed the destroyed colony of New Haven. "This was an unprovoked attack on a peaceful human settlement," she said. 12 million civilians, dead. The Void Empire planned to systematically eliminate all human presence in the galaxy." The council members shifted uncomfortably. "For 2 centuries, humanity sought only peaceful coexistence." Anna continued. "We built our military in secret not out of treachery, but from painful lessons in our own history. Displaying overwhelming force often triggers fear and preemptive attacks from others. The Mithrin Council leader leaned forward. What are humanity's intentions now? Peace, Anna replied simply. We will disable the military capabilities of those who attacked us or plan to attack us. We will not harm civilian populations. Once security is established, our fleet will stand down. And we're supposed to just trust you? Asked the Trell representative skeptically. Trust must be earned, Anna acknowledged. But consider this. If conquest had been our goal, we could have launched this fleet at any time over the past century. We didn't. We acted only when attacked. As the council debated, an aide rushed in, whispering urgently to the leader. We've just received word, the Mithrin announced, his voice shaking slightly. The Creel and Saran empires have launched attacks against human positions. Anna's face showed genuine sadness. Then they too will learn the consequences of their actions. The Creel Imperial fleet moved confidently toward the human colony of Horizon. 300 warships, the pride of their military, formed a massive attack formation. Admiral Korg, supreme commander of the Creel forces, smiled as he viewed the approaching human defenses on his screen. Just 20 ships protected the colony. Pathetic, he muttered. The humans have overextended themselves. They can't be strong everywhere. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Admiral, our long-range sensors detect unusual energy readings beyond the human defense line. Probably trying to scare us with fake readings, Korg scoffed. The Void Empire's mistake was attacking without proper intelligence. We know the human fleet is occupied at the Void homeworld. Sir, I really think... Enough! Korg silenced him. With a wave. All ships prepare to engage. Target the colony's orbital stations first, then their ground defenses. As the Creel fleet moved within firing range, the space behind the human defenders suddenly rippled. Dimensional gates, dozens of them, tore open. From each portal emerged hundreds of warships. What's happening? Korg demanded, rising from his command chair. Dimensional gates, sir. Human ships, thousands of them. On the main view screen, Korg watched in horror as a massive human armada formed around his fleet. They had walked straight into an ambush. How? He whispered. How? Could they be here and at the Void homeworld simultaneously? The answer was as simple as it was terrifying. The humans had enough ships to be everywhere at once. On Hammer Station, Admiral Tom received reports from multiple fronts. The Creel fleet has been surrounded, Jane reported. Our forces outnumber, them 20-1. And the Soran? Tom asked. Engaged 5 minutes ago. Their fleet is already in retreat, but our forces are cutting off their escape routes. Tom nodded, studying the galactic map. Blue dots continued to spread, securing key positions throughout known space. What about the smaller powers? The Trade Federation? The Zandi League? They've all issued formal declarations of neutrality, Jane said with a hint of satisfaction. Some are even offering to open their borders for inspection to prove they had no part in the Void Empire's plans. The doors to the war room slid open as Diplomat Mark entered. He looked tired but determined. Admiral, the Galactic Council has requested a formal meeting with humanity's leadership. They're quite eager to establish diplomatic relations. Tom allowed himself a small smile. I bet they are. Mark hesitated. There's something else. Other species are beginning to dismantle their military fleets voluntarily. They're broadcasting the process openly, claiming they've chosen peace over conflict. They're afraid, Jane observed. Yes, Mark agreed. But fear can eventually become respect. This could be the beginning of true galactic stability. Tom turned, back to the map, watching as more blue dots appeared throughout the galaxy. The human fleet continued to deploy, securing trade routes, jump points, and strategic locations. Schedule the meeting with the Council, he decided. It's time to establish new rules for this galaxy, rules that protect the innocent and punish aggressors. As he spoke, reports continued to flood in from across space. The Creel fleet had surrendered after losing 70% of their ships in just 40 minutes of battle. The Saran Empire was on the verge of collapse, its leadership having fled as human forces dismantled their military infrastructure. Throughout the galaxy, species that had viewed humans as weak newcomers now watched in awe and terror as humanity revealed its true power. The message was clear: attack humanity and face consequences beyond imagination. The galaxy had fallen silent, not in death, but in stunned realization of a new reality. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered or pushed aside. They were the nightmare that ended all others. Emperor Draz paced his prison cell aboard the human ship, Justice. His once magnificent royal robes hung in tatters, and his scaled skin had lost its shine. Just days ago, he had ruled the greatest empire in known space. Now he was a prisoner. His mighty fleet scattered or destroyed. The cell door slid open. Admiral Tom entered, flanked by 2 guards. "Emperor," Tom said with a small, cold nod. Draz glared at the human. "Come to gloat, Admiral?" "No. I came to inform you that your people are safe. We've disabled your military installations but left civilian infrastructure intact." "How generous," Draz sneered. "What do you want? Surrender? Tribute?" Tom's face remained impassive. "Justice for New Haven. Nothing more." Draz studied the human with his 4 eyes. "You're a fool. Do you think this is over? That you've won?" He laughed bitterly. "You don't know what forces you've awakened." Before Tom could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A guard rushed in. "Admiral, emergency transmission from Hammer Station." On the bridge of the Justice, the main screen showed Fleet Commander Jane's urgent face. "The Void Empire's capital defense system has been activated," she reported. "They've launched the Star Eater." Tom's face paled. "That's impossible. We disabled all their weapon systems." "It was hidden, sir. Deep under the Royal Palace. Remote activated. By loyalists." "What target?" Jane's voice was grim. "Earth." Tom's hands clenched into fists. "The Star Eater, the Void Empire's legendary superweapon. It could consume a planet's core, causing it to collapse in on itself. No shield could stop it. How long do we have?" 6 hours before it reaches Earth." Tom turned to see Emperor Draz, watching from the doorway surrounded by guards. A smile of triumph spread across the alien's face. "Did you think we wouldn't have a final solution, human?" Draz taunted. "You may have defeated our fleets, but the Star Eater cannot be stopped. Your homeworld will die, and with it your species' will to fight." Tom ignored him, already issuing orders. "Redirect all available ships to intercept. We need to stop that weapon before it reaches Earth." Captain Bill stood on the bridge of the Retribution, staring at the tactical display with growing dread. His ship, along with 50 others, formed a blockade in the Star Eater's path. "Can we destroy it?" he asked his weapons officer. "Negative, sir. Our scans show it's protected by multiple energy fields. Our weapons can't penetrate them all." Bill frowned. "What about physically intercepting it?" "Any ship that touches it would be destroyed instantly." First Officer Lisa studied the readings. "It's converting matter into energy as it travels. That's what makes it so unstoppable." Bill tapped his communication panel. "Hammer Station, this is the Retribution. We need options." Admiral Tom's face appeared on screen. "Captain, I'm sending you the complete technical data on the Star Eater. Our scientists have been studying it since we discovered its existence." As Bill reviewed the information, a cold realization dawned on him. "There's only one way to stop it, isn't there?" Tom nodded grimly. "Sacrifice protocol." Aboard Hammer Station, Admiral Tom addressed the commanders of the human fleet. 5,000 ships had formed a barrier between Earth and the approaching Star Eater. "The weapon cannot be destroyed from a distance," he explained. "But it can be stopped if enough ships form a physical barrier. The ships will be destroyed, but their combined mass will overload the Star Eater's conversion capacity." Silence fell across the communication channel. "That's a suicide mission," someone finally said. "Yes," Tom acknowledged. "That's why I'm asking for volunteers only." He didn't have to wait long. Every commander in the blockade volunteered immediately. "I'll lead the intercept group," Tom decided. "Commander Jane will take overall command of the fleet." "With respect, Admiral," Jane interrupted. "You're too valuable to lose." I should lead. The sacrifice protocol. Tom shook his head. This is my responsibility. He straightened his uniform. Prepare 5,000 ships for intercept formation. We launch in 1 hour. Word of the Star Eater spread across human space. People gathered around communication screens, watching as the massive human fleet prepared for the ultimate sacrifice on War. Earth billions looked up at the night sky, knowing that far above, thousands of their people were preparing to die to save them. Emperor Draz watched from his cell as Admiral Tom prepared to leave the Justice. You're going to die for nothing, Draz said. Even if you stop the Star Eater, the galaxy will never know peace while different species compete for dominance. Tom paused at the door. Perhaps. But today, we fight for the right of all species to have that chance. He studied the fallen emperor. I pity you. With all your power, you never understood the true strength of humanity. And what is that? Draz sneered. We've spent our history fighting ourselves. It made us strong, but it also taught us the value of peace. We don't seek domination, we seek survival, and we'll do whatever it takes to protect our own, aboard. The Retribution, Captain Bill received new orders. His ship would join Admiral Tom's sacrifice fleet. It's been an honor serving with you all, he told his crew. Anyone who wishes to transfer to another vessel may do so without shame. Not a single crew member left their post. As the Retribution moved into position, Bill looked at the faces around. Humans from different countries, colonies, backgrounds, all united in purpose. For New Haven, he said quietly. For Earth. The Star Eater moved relentlessly toward Earth, a dark mass of swirling energy that consumed everything in its path. Before it, 5,000 human ships formed a massive wall. Admiral. Tom's voice echoed across all communication channels. This is Admiral Tom of the United Systems of Humanity. Today we face our greatest test. The Star Eater cannot be destroyed by conventional means, but it can be stopped by us. He paused, looking at the view screen showing Earth, blue and beautiful against the blackness of space. Many of us will not survive this day, but we do not act only for humanity. We act for all peaceful species who wish to live without fear. Today we prove that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or ships, but our willingness to sacrifice for what is. Right? The 5,000 ships accelerated toward the oncoming weapon. Across the galaxy, billions of beings from dozens of species watched the unfolding drama. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives stood in silence before the live feeds. They're going to sacrifice themselves, whispered the Mithran leader. Captain Bill gripped his command chair as the Retribution accelerated. Impact in 30 seconds, reported the navigation officer, her voice steady despite the fear. Bill looked at the faces of his crew one last time. It has been my greatest honor to serve with you. 20 seconds. First Officer Lisa reached over and squeezed Bill's hand briefly. No regrets, Captain. 10 seconds. Bill took a deep breath. For humanity. The 5,000 ships collided with the Star Eater in a blinding flash of light. On Hammer Station, Commander Jane watched as the sensors went dark. For several agonizing moments, no one spoke. Then the readings cleared. The Star Eater has been neutralized, reported a sensor officer, disbelief in his voice. The sacrifice worked. A cheer erupted across the station, quickly fading to somber silence as the cost became clear. 5,000 ships, millions of brave humans. Jane straightened her shoulders. Send rescue ships immediately. Look for survivors. As reports came, hope began to grow. The ships at the outer edges of the formation had been badly damaged but not completely destroyed. Nearly half the crews might have survived, but Admiral Tom's command ship had been at the center of the formation, taking the brunt of the impact. Jane closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with new resolve. Send a message to all human forces. The Star Eater has been destroyed, but our mission isn't over. She turned to the galactic map. It's time to ensure this never happens again. In his cell, Emperor Draz received the news with shock. Impossible, he muttered. They sacrificed themselves for what? The human guard looked at him with pity. For each other. Something you'll never understand. For the first time in his long life, Emperor Draz began to question everything he had believed about power, about strength, about the true nature of superiority. Throughout the galaxy, the news spread. Humans had sacrificed thousands of their own ships to save their homeworld. Not just their leaders or soldiers, but ordinary citizens had volunteered for what seemed like certain death. It was a concept many species struggled to comprehend. Not conquest for glory, not destruction for power, but sacrifice for others. The galaxy had feared humanity for their weapons and the size of their fleet. Now they began to fear something else entirely. The unbreakable will of a species that would do anything to protect not just themselves, but all who desired peace. The nightmare wasn't the human fleet. It was the realization that humanity could never truly be defeated, because they valued something more than their own survival. And that made them the most powerful force the galaxy had ever known. 3 months after the Star Eater's destruction, a new peace had settled across the galaxy. Human warships patrolled major trade routes, jump points, and borders between formerly hostile species. The Void Empire had been dismantled, its worlds, now self-governing under human protection. The Creel and Saran empires had surrendered completely, their military capabilities reduced to defensive forces only. Fleet Commander Jane, now promoted to Admiral Jane, stood before the massive window in Hammer Station's observation deck. The stars shone brilliantly against the blackness of space, peaceful and serene. It was hard to believe that just months ago, those same stars had witnessed the largest military operation in galactic history. The door slid open behind her. She turned to see Captain Bill enter, walking with a slight limp, a reminder of his injuries when the Retribution had barely survived the Star Eater impact. "Admiral," he greeted her with a smile and a salute. "Captain," she returned warmly, "how's the new ship?" After the destruction of the Retribution, Bill had been given command of a newer, more advanced vessel named Renewal. It seemed fitting. "She's magnificent," Bill replied, "though I still miss the Retribution sometimes." Jane nodded in understanding. "You and your crew did something extraordinary that day. The history books will remember you." Bill's expression grew somber. "Any news about Admiral Tom?" Jane's face reflected the same sadness. "The search teams are still looking. His ship took the direct impact." Her voice trailed off. They stood in silence for a moment, honoring their missing leader. "The Galactic Council session begins in an hour," Jane finally said. "Are you ready to represent humanity alongside me?" Bill straightened his uniform. "As ready as I'll ever be." The Galactic Council chamber had been rebuilt and expanded. Once home to 40 species, it now hosted representatives from over 100 worlds. Many were former subjects of the fallen empires, now independent and finding their voice in galactic affairs for the first time. Admiral Jane and Captain Bill entered to a hush that swept through the massive chamber. All eyes turned to the human representatives as they made their way to the central podium. The Mithran leader, who still served as head of the council, greeted them formally. "The council recognizes Admiral Jane and Captain Bill of the United Systems of Humanity." Jane stepped forward. "Honorable representatives, thank you for gathering today. 3 months ago, our galaxy stood on the brink of chaos. Today, we meet in peace." She activated a holographic display showing statistics. Trade between worlds had increased by 300%. Piracy had decreased by 87%. Former conflict zones were now stable and rebuilding. "The human fleet continues to patrol key regions," Jane continued, "not as conquerors but as peacekeepers. Every world remains sovereign, free to govern itself as it chooses. As long as they don't build weapons," a voice called out from the assembly. Jane met the speaker's eyes, a representative from a former Void Empire world. "As long as they don't threaten others," she corrected. "Defensive capabilities are permitted to all. Weapons of aggression are not." The Mithran leader raised his ancient hand. "Admiral, while the peace is welcome, many worlds fear this is merely an exchange of one empire for another. The human fleet still numbers in the hundreds of thousands. Your power remains unchallenged." Captain Bill stepped forward. We understand those concerns. That's why we've come today with a proposal. He activated another holographic display, showing plans for a new organization. We call it the Galactic Defense Alliance, Bill explained. A joint force with ships and personnel from all member worlds, trained and equipped to maintain peace throughout known space. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Over time, Jane added, the human fleet will transfer more responsibility to the Alliance. Our goal is not eternal dominance, but lasting peace. And if we choose not to join this alliance? Asked the Saran representative suspiciously. That is your right, Jane replied. No world will be forced to join. But the benefits of membership, shared, technology, trade advantages, security guarantees, will be substantial. As the council debated the proposal, Jane and Bill exchanged a glance. They had expected resistance, skepticism, even fear. After centuries of imperial rule by various species, trust would take time to build. Later that day, Jane and Bill walked through a memorial garden on a neutral space station. Stone monuments honored the fallen of New Haven and the heroes of the Star Eater battle. At the center stood a statue of Admiral Tom, his face solemn but kind, his hand extended in an offer of peace. Do you think he would approve of what we're doing? Bill asked, looking up at the statue. Jane smiled sadly. He always said humanity's goal wasn't conquest, but security. I think he'd be proud. Their communication devices buzzed simultaneously. The same urgent message appeared on both screens. Rescue Team Alpha reports finding survivors. Admiral Tom, possibly among them. They raced to the nearest shuttle. On a remote medical station, Jane and Bill waited anxiously outside a treatment room. The rescue team had found escape pods from Admiral Tom's command ship, drifting in a distant sector. Some of the pods contained survivors in stasis, barely alive after months adrift. The door opened. A doctor emerged, looking tired but pleased. Admiral, Captain, she greeted them. He's awake and asking for you. They entered to find Admiral Tom propped up in bed, thinner and paler than before, but unmistakably alive. His eyes brightened when he saw them. Jane, Bill, it's good to see you both. Jane fought back tears as she saluted. Admiral, the galaxy believed you lost. For a while I was, Tom replied weakly. But it seems humanity isn't done with me yet. He listened intently as they updated him on everything that had happened. The peace settlements, the Galactic Council, the proposed defense alliance. It sounds like you've managed things well in my absence, he said with pride. We tried to follow your vision, Bill told him. Tom nodded slowly. And the fleet? Our ships? Still maintaining peace, Jane assured him. But many captains have requested permission to stand down, to return to exploration, science, commerce. A smile spread across Tom's tired face. Good. That was always the plan. Our ships were built for defense, not conquest. It's time they returned to their true purpose. 6 months later, Admiral Tom stood on the observation deck of a new ship, the New Dawn. His health had returned, though doctors said he would never again command in battle. That was fine with him. His fighting days were over. Beside him stood a young girl, no more than 10 years old. She was a survivor from New Haven, one of the few who had been off-world during the attack. Now orphaned, she had been adopted by a family on Earth. Is it true what they say? She asked, looking up at him with curious eyes. That humans are the most powerful beings in the galaxy now? Tom considered her question carefully. We have the strongest ships, yes, but true power isn't about weapons or fleets. What is it about then? He gestured to the view screen, which showed hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds training together under the banner of the new Galactic Defense Alliance. It's about building something that lasts, something worth protecting. He smiled down at her. The galaxy feared us when our warships launched. They called us their nightmare. But nightmares fade when morning comes. And now? The girl asked. Now the galaxy is silent, Tom said softly. Not in fear, but in peace. Not in death, but in life. The girl looked thoughtful. Will there be more wars? Perhaps someday. That's the nature of thinking beings. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. But when that day comes, it won't be humanity alone that stands against the darkness. It will be all of us together. As they watched, a new class of human ships emerged from Earth's shipyards. These weren't warships, but exploration vessels, their lines sleek and beautiful, built not to destroy, but to discover. That's our true destiny, Tom told the girl. Not to rule the stars, but to learn from them. Not to conquer, but to connect. Throughout the silent galaxy, species that had once viewed each other with suspicion now worked together under humanity's watchful guidance. The nightmare had ended, replaced by something many had thought impossible, true galactic peace. And if that peace was protected by the quiet knowledge that 900,000 human warships could launch again if needed, well, some nightmares served a purpose. They reminded everyone that some lines should never be crossed, that some actions could never be undone, and that humanity's patience, once broken, would not be tested twice. The galaxy remained silent, and in that silence, a new era had begun.